So now that the Curry Cup final is done and dusted, we've got the Springboks team. It's been up for a little while now. A 36-man team. Not too many surprises, but there are a few, I guess, kind of out of the blue call-ups. But yeah, these are the names on the board. I'll go through some of them and yeah, we can have a quick chat about it. So, I mean, props, Thomas Dutoy, Kitsov, Koch, Wukolo, Malherba, Inyekane. Obviously, Inyekane is back from injury. A lot of people are going to give him a lot of grief. I don't mind Trevor Inyekane. He's always one of the top tackling props in Super Rugby. He doesn't look the part because he looks fat. But he's got a better work rate than most props. He's always top 5, top 10 props for average tackles per game. So despite the look, the numbers actually work pretty well in his favour. So he's, you look at Thomas Dutoy and you think lean, mean, not that lean. He's a prop, but kind of, work rate machine. But Inyekane is there or thereabouts as well. Kitsov, I'm always a big fan of. Koch, it's good to have him coming back from overseas to play for the Boks, although he'll be kind of staying in Europe for this one, I would imagine. So, pretty solid. Malherba impressed in the Rugby Championship, so that's all pretty good news. Hookers is an interesting one. I mean, you got Brits, Marks, and Mbonambi. It's an interesting one with the Springboks because you've got Malcolm Marks. You're essentially picking Marks and two also Rands. Two guys who are going to sub for Marks. Brits is an interesting one because he's not been playing. I don't think he's got a club at the moment. He's not a spring chicken. He's been around the block. You got other guys kind of coming through. You got Aka van der Merwe, kind of not considered. Scar and Tubeni and others. So yeah, it's an interesting pick. But Rassi obviously likes Scott Brits, so he sees something there. But as I said, Malcolm Marks is your number one man. Mbonambi also a solid backup as well. Hopefully Marks gets a wee bit of a break. So they got 4 games, so surely he's not going to start them all. Locks. Everyone, I think if you're a Bok fan, would be happy to see Ludiacha back. I'm pretty happy to see him back. He was in fine form with Super Rugby before he got injured for the Bulls. Etzebeth, Mostert, there seems to be a bit of a tug of war between him and his clubs. Not quite sure what's going on there. JD Schickerling gets called up. He'll be debuting if he gets a shot. I think we saw a bit of him in Super Rugby, and I think he's been doing all right in the Curry Cup, so that's kind of a good news story for him. Snyman, very happy with that pick. I was a little worried that with the Aka coming back, we might see Snyman not get chosen, but he's still there, so that's very good news. He's got some of the best hands of all the locks that you'll see play. Peter Stiff Dutoy, lock loose forward, good to see him back. Loose forward specialist, Kolisi, Francois Lowe, Sikambuza Notche, Dwayne Vermeulen, and Warren Whiteley. That's a pretty impressive looking lineup. Obviously, Dutoy was a tackling machine in the in Rugby Championship. He was really impressive. I think he played 1 game at lock, all the rest in the loose forwards. Kolisi, Captain Fantastic. He was one of the most dynamic ball carriers of the tournament. I think he had perhaps more run meters than any other South African player. Don't quote me, but he was up there. But then you got Dwayne Vermeulen is back as well. So talk about ball carrier. Just signed for the Bulls. That's kind of been confirmed. So very, very cool news. If you're a Springboks fan, you've got to be pretty happy looking at those names. But still, I mean, that does mean none of the Dupree brothers made it. Not just the Lucies, but also Rob didn't make it either. So that's, if you're a Sharks fan, you've got to be feeling a bit, I don't know, maybe a little bit salty that none of them made it. But, I mean, who would you drop? Maybe Francois Lowe? He was all right without being outstanding. He was with some kind of giants in the Rugby Championship, so it's a little bit hard to compare. We move on to the backs. Backs is interesting because no Faf de Klerk, not being released from his club for the November tests. So that's a bit of a pity because he played almost all the minutes for the Rugby Championship, just gone. So you got Papier, Schrader, and Van Ziel. Who gets the top job? Papier, based on being the backup for Faf de Klerk during the Rugby Championships. Maybe Schrader, based on Curry Cup form. I don't know. Ross Cronje is injured, so he's not considered. And we got, outside them, you got Yankees, Pollard, Willemse, who's probably bracketed in as 10-15 cover. So are we going to see Yankees and Pollard at 10 and 12 at some point? That would be nice, because we saw a wee bit of it in the Rugby Championship and it looked like it had a bit of promise. Pollard's big enough to play 12 for sure. Will we see Willemse get a start at 10? Perhaps at 15? I don't know. We've also got De Allende, Creel, and Ranel as an interesting call-up. He's going to be debuting if he gets a game. Esterhuizen as well. Solid without being spectacular in Rugby Championship, although I'm a big fan of his when he's playing for the Sharks. No Lekanyo he is injured, so it's unfortunate. Also Lionel Mapu injured, so not available. Gio Aplom, 36. I think Rassi spoke to his selection as kind of, because we've got LaRue in here, and his selection is always a bit sporadic depending on availability with his club being based abroad. And, Gio Aplom brings a bit of experience. He plays wing or fullback, so yeah, he can do a job for those guys. Deontay Colby, who was really impressive. Deontay really impressive as well, but Colby especially when he was called up for the Springboks in the Rugby Championship. Sibu Nkosi and Sergio Peterson, who also get a debut if he gets on. Rounds out a pretty solid looking squad. I'm impressed that LaRue is also available. As I said, there's always issues with his availability being based in England. The first game, because the Boks are playing England, France, Scotland, and Wales. The England game actually falls outside the international window, so the clubs don't have to release. So we may not see guys like LaRue for that first one. So it will be interesting to see how the squad kind of forms around availability. But like I said, 3 uncapped guys in Nell, Schickerling, and Peterson. We're missing guys like Mapo, the Beast, and Tawera. He's not available due to injury. Mapimpi. Those guys are all injured, so that's unfortunate, but I guess it gives someone else a chance. Connie Oosthuizen, not available, I guess. I mean, he played in the Currie Cup final, I'm pretty sure, from the bench. Maybe he hasn't had enough time. Maybe it's best to kind of, they dropped Etzebeth back in the team after he came back from injury, but maybe they need to see a bit more from him, I guess. No guys like Kuhn Bosch, Dylan Lades, SP Maria seems to have been in pretty good form for the Currie Cup, even though I know a lot of people hate on him. Outside backs in the Springbok team is pretty competitive, so I guess that's a bit harsh, but it's hard to get in. Pretty strong looking team to me. The question of who plays 9 is going to be a really interesting one, because obviously Faf is the main man, so without him being available at all, we get to see how deep those stocks at halfback kind of go. Which midfield combination gets settled on still seems to be a question, with lots of different options being tried. Will we see, as I said, Yankees, Pollard, and then somebody else, or will it be De Allende and Creel again? There's kind of pluses and minuses with both of those. Will it be Diaka and Etzebeth in the second row? You'd think that'd be your starting combo, but there's certainly some talent and depth there. So I'm pretty excited to see how this squad goes in November. Very much looking forward to it. You guys let me know your thoughts on the squad. As I said, there's some pretty big names missing, but it's still an exciting squad in that it's not an absolute shake-up, but we are still seeing a little bit of fresh faces being added. So there's still room to move for guys heading into 2019. Obviously, I didn't see a whole lot of the Currie Cup, so you guys will be able to let me know if any of these guys who played in the Currie Cup have kind of been in good form, if anyone's really putting their hand up for selection, because as we've seen with the All Blacks as well, some guys who were playing in Mitre 10 Cup managed to sneak their way into that All Blacks team, basically based on that form, even though it's a third-tier competition. But yeah, so you guys let me know your thoughts on the squad, who you're looking forward to seeing. How do you think that starting 15 might look? Obviously, against England, it's going to be a pretty big one, but maybe without some of the overseas-based guys. We will see how the clubs go, which of them kind of play hardball and which of them don't. But interesting squad. You guys let me know your thoughts, and I'll talk to you again soon. See you later.